Hi everyone, it's Aesah, and welcome to my video on common econ mistakes. In this video, I want to focus on two mistakes that I see very frequently made by players of all skill levels. The first one is being too greedy in stage 2. Now keep in mind, this does not apply to everyone. There are definitely players, again, of all skill levels who are not greedy enough in stage 2. However, I frequently see players sell off their strongest board or not level up in spots that they should in order to make econ intervals, or even sell off their bench slots for their future. So my general recommendation, if you're kind of unsure what to do, and I kind of recommend this for anyone who is masters or below, to always level to 4 on stage 2-1, no matter what. Always level to 5 on stage 2-5, no matter what. Always play your strongest board. And if you are win streaking, you can hold units for your next in if you're about to level up. Otherwise, you can make econ by selling off extra units on your bench. Definitely hold pairs that are important for units on your board. For example, if you don't have an upgraded backliner or upgraded frontliner and you're win streaking, holding those pairs instead of selling them off to make econ is very important. I think a lot of players in particular overvalue loss streak, I find is very common. Loss streak is not that valuable. I personally, and I would say not just myself, but most high challenger players on NA do not intentionally sacrifice their board until they are 4 loss. So for example, that would be specifically only for round 2-6. You would try to play 4 1-star units with no items, only if you're already 4 loss in order to get 5 loss. That's because streak gold is effectively doubled going into neutrals because you get streak gold on neutrals. I sometimes see players try to commit to loss streak too early, but that's generally not a good idea just because you lose too much HP. And just to give you a couple examples of why loss streak is not that valuable, a lot of people think 5 loss is a better position than kind of mixed streaking like this, but 5 loss gives you 7 gold from streak total, whereas loss win loss, win win will give you 5 gold total. So only a 2 gold difference. That being said, there are some nuances to this because when you go full loss streak, you will actually make more gold from probably holding less units in order to make more econ breakpoints. So it is a little bit bigger gold difference than just 2 here. However, by holding gold and playing it on your board in the top example, where you're going to be playing strongest board, that's going to translate into having those units for stage 3. Whereas if you go full loss, chances are you're taking a very weak board into stage 3, which is either going to cause you to continue to lose or force you to roll, in which case it kind of cancels out the econ that you save from your loss streak. Generally, I would recommend not rolling, but what ends up happening is you end up losing more rounds and it costs you more HP. But even just from stage 2 alone on Krugs, in this top example, you're probably going to have around 90 HP. In this bottom example, you're probably going to have around 70 HP. And again, there is a bigger gold difference because of the interest, but the gold that you invest in the units that you're keeping on your board, you're holding those units for long term for stage 3. That's going to be worth the difference in interest. So you can see that the top situation is actually much preferable to the bottom situation. The second mistake I want to talk about is not being greedy enough in stage 4. Recovering your econ from 0 to 50, you'll see this, for example, in stage 2, you see this a lot, and it does take a while once you have to start to 0 and go to 50. And the same thing applies to stage 4, because in most games, you should be planning to go level 9 eventually, which means you will need to make that, you will need to build up that 50 gold bank from level 8, assuming you're playing a standard level 8 non-reroll board. No matter what position you are in the lobby, even if you're just low rolling really hard and you're just playing for like a 6th, you're still playing for 20-player combats. 20-player combats will be the end of stage 5. Of course, it's possible that you die before then, but you're generally playing for at least this much. If you're in a good position and you're high rolling, you want to play to the end of stage 6. So that would be 25-player combats. But even if we're saying only 20, again, this is more of like a low roll. If you're mid roll, you're probably a little bit more than this. 4-1 is only halfway through the game. So when you're not making any econ, as early as 4-1 or 4-2, it's actually very, very detrimental to your long-term game. Yes, it is true that you will be stronger for the short term if you roll to like true 0 compared to if you roll down to like 10 or 20. However, it's just going to be really hard to recover because, again, most of the time we are going to try to build back up to 50 gold and then go level 9 eventually. Just to give you an idea of how bad making 0 is, gold does not scale throughout the game. You're always getting 5 base gold and then 1 gold for every 10 you have in the bank, up to 50. And then, of course, you get a little bit more gold from wins and streaks, but they're not that reliable. So on average, you'll probably get about 6 gold a round. You get the 5 base gold if you're making 0, and then you'll 1 for wins, and then 1 for streak. So on average, you'll probably get about 6. So if you're making 0, it actually takes you 2 entire rounds basically to recover back to 10. Whereas if you just roll to 10, you can kind of accelerate your progress on building back up to 50 gold or more, and then be able to go level 9. Ideally, you don't even have to go that far down to 10. And this is actually a really big deal because I earlier mentioned that gold going from 0 to 50 gold in stage 2 and 0 to 50 in stage 4 is kind of similar, but it's actually even worse than that because in stage 4, when you're level 8 and you have to buy more expensive units, it actually stunts your growth on your economy a lot more than it does in stage 2. In fact, if you have to buy a single 4 cost, that is almost an entire round. So let's say you're making true 0, and then you get 5 gold next round, and then you have to buy a single 4 cost. Now you're all the way back down to 1. Let's say you win the next round, so you make 6. Now you have 7 gold. You have to buy another single 4 cost, which might not even upgrade your board. It might just be like a pair of an important unit that you have to hold. Now all of a sudden you're back down to 3 gold. So it's very, very important not to nuke your econ as early as stage 4-1 or stage 4-2. Making some econ and mentally thinking about it as you're less than halfway through the game. I wrote halfway here, but again, you're actually less than halfway in most games. Again, halfway would be the end of stage 5. Mentally thinking about that way and keeping some econ is important. Obviously, on average, you will be weaker on stage 4 by not spending all of your gold, but as soon as stage 5 and then, of course, stage 6 rolls around, you're going to be a lot stronger by keeping some econ there. I also want to talk about how these 2 points tie into each other. A lot of players, I find, kind of put themselves in a situation where they're forced to not make econ in stage 4 by prioritizing loss streak and econ breakpoints too much in the early game. So if you go 5 loss, you're making a lot of econ breakpoints early game. You don't roll on stage 3, and let's say you go 8 loss. Well, at this point, on stage 4, even though you might have a lot of gold, you're going to be very pressured to spend all of it immediately and not use that gold to make more econ on stage 4 because you just can't afford to take any losses because your HP is too low. Alternatively, if you have kind of like stage 2 that looks like this, you're 90 HP, and then you have a stage 3 that looks somewhat similarly, sure, you have a little bit less gold. However, by having that HP cushion, let's say you have like 60 HP or 70 HP going to stage 4, you have a lot more cushion to keep some econ in the bank and then make up for the econ that you didn't have early game. So basically, by playing too greedy in stage 2 and sacrificing too much HP in order to make more gold, that forces you to not be able to make gold econ in stage 4. And again, in TFT, we're basically trying to get to an end game board by like stage 5 or stage 6. And as long as you make the more gold throughout the entire game and most efficiently have that curve to save the most HP and make the most gold, you can see that being a little bit less greedy in stage 2 and a little bit more greedy in stage 4 tends to be better. Again, some players are the reverse of this, but in general, I've coached a lot of players from all skill levels, and I find these are the two most common econ mistakes. If you have any questions, let me know in the Discord, and thanks for watching.